Good evening. Welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Shom on the program tonight. At a time when there's a social media trend asking people to boycott the Maldives after derogatory references to the Prime Minister by 3 Maldivian leaders, the President of the Maldives, who is now in Beijing, has appealed to China to intensify efforts to send more tourists to his country. President Moise has referred to China today as the closest ally of the Maldives, remarks which would be a matter of concern for New Delhi, which has plenty of worries over China's increasing presence in the Indian Ocean region. All this at a time when opposition leaders in the Maldives say that they disagree with the president and what his perceived anti-India stance evidently stands for. Next on the program, India's aviation regulator flags a concern with the Boeing 737 MAX aircraft in service with 3 Indian airlines at a time when there have been international headlines over an Alaska Airlines aircraft which had an explosive decompression on board during a flight which resulted in an emergency exit being blown off the aircraft. Fortunately, the plane landed safely. The incident in India is not related to the Alaska Airlines incident, but the regulator, the DGCA, has said that in the course of inspections, a washer was missing in the critical tail assembly of one of the aircraft. That inspection had been ordered prior to the Alaska Airlines incident, but the fact that this washer was missing from the rudder assembly is a matter of concern. Why? Because there are airlines which have a lot of concerns with Boeing at this stage. For example, United Airlines, one of the largest airlines in the world, they've said that they found loose parts on multiple grounded Boeing 737 aircraft. This is all bad news for Boeing amidst concerns on manufacturing standards of an aircraft that had a poor safety reputation, something Boeing has been trying to fix. And finally, we bring you special interviews with some of India's finest sports stars, our Arjuna Award winners this year. But first, our top story. The situation, India and the Maldives, appears to be getting somewhat tense, some would suggest, not only because of the ongoing war on social media, with so many objecting to the remarks made by certain Maldivian leaders about our Prime Minister, but also the visit of the Maldivian President to Maldives, to China, where in fact he's appealed to China to increase their number of tourists coming in, and has also said that China is the closest ally of the Maldives.
After the 3 deputy ministers of Maldives government made derogatory comments about PM Modi, the Maldives government moved quickly and distanced itself from their comments, also suspended all 3 of them. But now there's a political storm brewing over this controversy, and the leader of opposition of Maldives has demanded that there be no confidence motion against President Moise. Now, there is another MP who has said that the foreign minister should also be questioned about his failure to handle the situation. All these 3 people, all these 3 deputy ministers who made such comments should also be questioned in the parliament about the things they have posted on social media. So now this has become a big political issue there as well. At the moment, President Moise is in China on a 5-day tour, and this is also being looked at his closeness to China, because usually, traditionally, the president who's elected, his first visit abroad is to India, and Moise has been trying to show his distance from India, and he has also moved away from India first policy of his predecessors, and he has asked Indian Army personnel to be moved from India. So this controversy comes soon after all this has happened, even earlier in the relation, and this now Maldives is also in a damage control mode. But the industry which is most affected is the tourism industry, which is the mainstay of Maldives economy, and the tourism industry has been issuing statements saying, distancing themselves from these derogatory statements and welcoming Indian tourists, because in 2023 almost 11% of tourists in Maldives were from India. Almost 2,10,000 tourists were from India. But in India there are like social media trends which are saying boycott Maldives. However, no big minister here has made any comment on these derogatory remarks. Although the High Commissioner of Maldives was summoned to Foreign Affairs Ministry here, But the fact is that diplomatic decisions are not made on social media trends. So both the nations are important to each other. For Maldives, India is a big and closest neighbor which has come forward in every difficulty. And for India, Maldives is a strategically located neighbor which is also very important.
Well, we're going to just see where the relationship with the Maldives presently stands, and the opposition concerns about what the president is doing. I'm joined by Mikhail Naseem, an MP in the Maldives, Harsh Pant, Vice President for Foreign Policy at the Observer Research Foundation, Dilip Sinha, former Ambassador of India, Dr. Subhash Goyal, the Chairperson of Aviation Travel and Tourism Committee of the Indian Chamber of Commerce. Dr. Goyal, thank you very much for being with us. Mikhail Naseem, is it your belief that the president is moving away from an India first policy to a China first policy?
Yes, I think so. And I think he has made it amply clear from his actions in the recent weeks. And we are very worried that we are leaving behind a legacy of having a very balanced foreign policy approach. And the reason we have had an India first policy in our country is because we realize where we lie geographically and where our mutual interests, be it security interest or other strategic interests, they are intertwined with our neighbor. And that is a stand we have held for years. And it is very worrying that President Muiz and his government is refusing to, first of all, issue a formal apology regarding what happened. And also, there is a conspicuous delay and dragging feet when it comes to sacking the people involved and who are senior government officials who should be, whose views should reflect the views of the government. But we have so far not seen any of this happen. And we are, as a country, as a people, very worried about the deteriorating ties between our country and India.
Mikhail, is there any movement within the opposition to challenge the ruling government politically in your parliament?
Well, we are doing what we can at the moment, and the recent weeks has seen a number of MPs leave the opposition party to join PNC, Dr. Muiz's party. And regardless of that, we have put forth a request to the parliament to summon the foreign minister. And we are also summoning the deputy ministers in question to the Foreign Relations Committee in the parliament. And there have been individual remarks from politicians as well as political parties in the Maldives regarding their desire for impeachment. But however, we have not seen a systematic effort from the opposition yet towards
Mikhail,
that.
is there any clarity at all on why any party in the Maldives would want to move away from India to China? I mean, we are culturally the same, historically the same. There's been a lot of Indian investment in the well-being of Maldives, your economy, etc., etc. You know, there's so much. Why the sense or the urge to move away to China in the first place?
Well, I think it was actually rhetoric, empty rhetoric that was used to win an election. And they had been doing it for years, and they needed a cause to rally behind, and that was anti-India. And they have been spewing anti-India sentiments and anti-India rhetoric in the Maldivian political sphere for quite some time now. And I think what we are seeing now is the culmination of all of this. And it is not shocking at all to us, but it is very appalling. We are very saddened by it, and we would like to resolve this issue as soon as possible. But I do believe, in my personal view, that in order for this to be resolved and for us to have closure, it is important for the government of Maldives to issue a formal apology.
Mikhail, what do people in the Maldives believe as far as ties or with India or the relationship with India is concerned? How do they view it vis-a-vis the equation of the Maldives with China?
Well, I think it is undeniable that we have had mutual relations with regard to culture, with regard to tourism as well, more so than we have had with China in recent years. And the age-old relationship between India and Maldives is time-tested. And it is not a very recent or new relationship that we have yet to experience. It is time-tested, and India has always been a reliable ally and who has come to our rescue in our time of need whenever we have asked of them. And I think it is important that regardless of the change in administration or the government, we maintain age-old ties and we maintain our balanced foreign policy approach.
Ambassador Sinha, you heard that. Mikhail Naseem is an MP in the Maldives, opposed to the change in the policies right now. But the fact that you've got the Maldivian president, praising the Belt and Road Initiative, referring to China as their primary ally, would this not send alarm bells in India?
Well, it is certainly very reassuring to see that there are leaders in the Maldives who oppose this rather ill-advised policy of President Moizu. And that is the ray of hope that we have, that our relations with Maldives will not be severely affected by this move of President Moizu. Now, a neighboring country of India, playing the China card on India is not new for us. We have seen this happen time and again, where neighboring countries feel that they can play the China card on us and extract concessions or try and get concessions from China. It's a little odd, though, that at this point in time, when China's BRI program has actually come in for a great deal of criticism, not only among some certain Western countries, but also from the countries that have benefited from this BRI because of the debt trap that they fall into. And also China's economic problems that we have seen, which has led to the reduction in the BRI program. So if President Moizu feels that this is a time for him to turn to China, then I suppose he'll soon come to grief. But as far as we are concerned, I think we have sent our message to the Maldives, both at the level of the government and the social media. And I think we should now let it sink into them and let us wait and see what their reaction is before trying to push this matter any further.
Harsh Pant, is the solution to what are fairly profound geostrategic plays, is the solution to that people getting angry on social media and saying, I'm not going to visit the Maldives?
Well, I cannot take social media away from diplomacy today in today's world, but certainly I think it has amplified some of the questions that were already in place even before this particular episode, I think, came to the fore. Because ultimately the question that everyone has been asking and everyone has been interested in India, at least those who were interested in India-Maldives relations, was where is this government of Mr. Moizu going with its India policy, with its China policy. And I think, as Mikhail was underscoring, that they have been campaigning on this for a very long time. The whole India Out campaign, etc., was very evident that there is a certain anti-India dimension to the very political campaign that it was launched, and then of course the victory and its aftermath. But what tends to happen is that when you start governing, there is a grain of seriousness that comes, and there is a reality check that happens. And I think that's when perhaps the assessment was that once that reality check happens, we will see temperance, we will see a greater degree of maturity, and that I think so far unfortunately has been missing.
Yes, exactly. At so many levels.
At so many levels. And I think, we are both democracies, and to expect that something, if you target the leaders or if you use certain kind of language, that is not going to reverberate in today's day and age across, the spectrum, across social media landscape, across, communities. That is also, a bit being deaf to the realities of today.
Sure.
So I think for democracies, particularly for open societies, it is very important to recognize those challenges and therefore to tailor your approach and be sensitive to those aspects. And I think in this particular case, we have seen a kind of tone deafness that has really been staggering in some ways when it comes to this particular episode. And I think it is going to have reverberations far beyond just the strategic dimension, I'm afraid.
Dr. Subhash Goyal, statements made by various Indian travel operators highlighting how Indians are no longer interested apparently in going to the Maldives, how the numbers of bookings have come down, etc., etc. Doesn't that really feed into a frenzy which doesn't necessarily serve our interest? It doesn't serve the interest of our neighbors. We are extremely close to the Maldives historically. What does any of this lead us to?
No, we are close to Maldives, and during COVID, I had organized, along with my other colleagues in the tourism industry, a meeting of the Maldives Minister of Tourism, and we have organized all the big tour operators, more than 150 of them, for which we allowed Maldives to make a presentation. And today, Maldives benefited from it. Now, we don't want any credit from Maldives. We did it out of our love for our neighboring country, and they earned more than $1 billion from Indian tourists. Now, we don't want any credit, but we will not tolerate any country, abusing India or abusing our Prime Minister or ridiculing him. I mean, that is something that no patriotic and self-respecting Indian would tolerate from anyone or any country. And any country that does it, I know government and diplomats and external affairs will take their own time in diplomacy. But one thing we would like to understand today, Indian tourists have a power. We are the largest spenders in Singapore, in Malaysia, in Thailand, in Switzerland, in UK. So Indian outbound tourists have a lot of spending power, and Maldives cannot take us for granted. And therefore, rightly so, I personally felt very bad and very hurt. And therefore, I issued the statement. And not only me, but all our members said that no, we have to issue a statement. And a lot of our members have stopped booking. My company, STIC Travel, has also stopped selling Maldives at all. We used to combine Maldives with Sri Lanka. Now we say that you please only go to Sri Lanka. And if you have to go outside, then Mauritius is there.
But sir, are you acting on, is that a request that has come to you from the government of India? That you restrict bookings to Maldives, or you don't allow it to go through?
There is no request from the government of India.
But then on what basis, Mr. Goyal, are you presuming that your actions benefit Indian foreign policy? Isn't the government best placed to decide that?
It may not benefit Indian foreign policy, but it will definitely send a signal. And I have got a few calls from top leaders of the tourism industry in Maldives that they are not with that statement. I said, then okay, then you request the government officials who had made these statements to apologize.
No, but then why should people in the Maldives, for example, be suffering on the basis of crazy statements made by a few leaders?
Well, I'm not saying that they are going to suffer forever. Indians are only 11%, and there are tourists from other countries in the world who do come to Maldives. And before COVID, Maldives was not dependent on Indian tourists.
In fact, now the president of the Maldives, Mr. Goyal, Dr. Goyal is in Beijing, where he has appealed to the Chinese, please increase the number of Chinese tourists who come to the Maldives. If we have fewer Indian tourists there, aren't we feeding into exactly what the Chinese want? Opening up a vacuum for more Chinese to come in.
Maldivian people and people who are in tourism industry know all over the world that China has volume, but they don't spend. You see, we have much more Chinese going to Thailand than going to Southeast Asia, but still we are the number one spenders in these countries because large families and the amount of shopping that Indians do. I mean, today, even in countries like UK and Dubai and even in Switzerland, Indians are considered the number one shoppers.
Right. So there is a certain power that Indian tourists with. I take that point.
And we must exercise that power in a larger national interest.
Right. Again, in larger national interest, Ambassador Sinha, should travel agents or those representing the travel industry be those who decide what national interest is? and therefore unilaterally take steps to deny people the right to book in the Maldives, or say that this is the right thing to be done because of remarks made by a couple of leaders who are frankly insignificant given the history of the relationship between India and the Maldives?
Well, I won't say that what the people of India do or what industry in India does will be insignificant for the Maldives. India is the largest supplier of tourism to the Maldives. There are so many other ways in which India is extremely important to the Maldives. So I think the message did need to go, and I think it has gone in. The very fact that the tourism industry of the Maldives has criticized the government shows that the message has sunk in. And that is what is important, that the message has gone in both from the government, which was extremely sober and correct, and from the people, which is obviously in the social media, there has to be a bit of overreaction, a bit of arbitrariness as well. But the important thing right now is that since the message has gone in and people in Maldives have got the message, I think we should now wait and see how it reacts to the situation before pushing it any further.
Harsh Pant, the final word to you. Do you believe that this is the correct way of doing things, of civil society members, industry bodies deciding what is right to teach the Maldives a lesson? Is this the way diplomacy should be practiced?
I think, the issue here might just be that we live in an age where you cannot separate the two. If your diplomacy is large part being conducted through various means of technology, then I think they will come into play. Whether we like it or not, I think that's beside the point. I think in some ways, given our closeness, and I think given the realities of India, Maldives, the closer we are, the more I think it will be important in some constituencies, the more hurt you feel. So if people are feeling more hurt, because this is Maldives, which we consider very close to us, and I think the reaction would be equally severe. And I think bodies, organizations, individuals also. I mean, we have seen celebrities taking a stand. I think this is going to happen increasingly, and diplomats will have to take that into account. Now, I think that the ball certainly is in Male's court, particularly in Mr. Muizu's court, that how he shows that he has understood the gravity of the situation and how we can manage it and take it away from the brink that we seem to be moving towards. And his remarks certainly in China don't help, but there are also reports that he's planning to come to India, that there are some reports that he might be coming to India. And I think that would be a good sign to at least show that he understands the situation and he's willing to take some remedial actions. I mean, so far he has not shown that in more ways than one.
To the contrary, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So there are bigger issues at play here, but I hope that gradually there is a greater understanding, and leaders like Mikhail perhaps also play a very important role in the domestic political landscape there.
All right. Well, look, I'd like to thank all of you very much for joining us on a thought-provoking discussion, not based on anger or hate, but perhaps based on understanding that the Maldives remain a very close partner, and perhaps that relationship needs to be put back on an even keel. How we do that is perhaps the concern right now.